Ballots are still being counted in several key states this morning.
You can see in this video here, this is video out of Philadelphia. Volunteers counting those ballots still this morning. And early this morning, President Donald Trump, he actually took to the stage at the White House in front of a group of supporters, commenting about how he believes he's won this election.
We will win this, and as far as I'm concerned, we already have.
Just hours ago at the White House, President Donald Trump claiming victory as he addressed a crowd of mostly unmasked supporters. Now, the video you're seeing right here, obviously leading up to the election. But all the votes, they're not in, and there is still a path for either candidate to win this election.
Now, several states were able to declare President Trump a winner early on election night, but none more quicker than Indiana. Yeah, the Hoosier state was the first called in the presidential race, and no surprise that the Hoosier state went red. It always, typically does. We are talking everything election this morning with University of Southern Indiana professor Dr. Nick LaRoe. You've been with us all morning, and of course, just this one last time, we really want to hit on the map to 270. We've seen some changes in the past couple of hours. Yeah, Michigan has seemed to have flipped in the favor of Joe Biden, and it's about a 3,000 or so vote count right now that separates those two candidates. For the majority of the evening, when the votes stopped being counted, Michigan was in favor of Trump, but that has changed in the last couple of hours. That is slimming his hopes in a path to re-election. Can you explain what you see, just crunching the numbers throughout the last 4 hours with us?
Sure. Well, the votes are going about the way we would expect. The early voting and the absentee ballots, the mail-in ballots are typically very Democratic, and so those narrow Trump leads in those states, or the narrow Biden leads, we would predict them to go left, and that's kind of what you're seeing in Michigan and in Wisconsin. So I think Trump really needs Georgia and North Carolina to have any kind of shot here.
Yeah, I was doing the math here while you were speaking there. At 213, I'm getting these from Fox. Now, you can get these from several different sources. They seem to be a bit stingier with their numbers through last night and into this morning. 213 was what he currently has. I'm talking about Donald Trump. 20 would be expected in Pennsylvania, 15 electoral votes in the state of North Carolina, 16 in Georgia. These are all states that have not been determined as of yet. That leaves him at 264, 6 short of the 270 needed, with Nevada still out there on the West Coast, and they have about 67% of their ballots counted. How do you see Nevada going? I know it's a small amount, but it makes a huge difference on a day like today.
Well, before the election, I think I was expecting it to go to Biden. I think it's closer than I expected it to see, but I think I would still predict a Biden victory there. While we're counting, we can probably go ahead and give Alaska to Trump. He's got a large lead there, and I think that's a pretty safe Republican state, but only 3 electoral votes in Alaska.
That would bring him to 273 in addition to Nevada, also North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. You are much better at math than I am. I was never really strong at math, so I'll leave that up to Tommy. One thing I do want to ask, Nick, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and this election, record voter turnout. What do you think drove people to the polls in these record numbers? Because it was really, it was just so exciting to see all the early voters, and then again on election day, a lot of people showing up to the polls. What do you think it was this year?
Well, obviously, we've got a lot going on in the country. There's a lot of unrest and tension, and I think it illustrates something that kind of contradicts conventional wisdom on voting. People tend to think that if we make it easier to vote, you take down barriers, people are more likely to vote, and that does help a little bit. But voting is mostly about caring to vote. This is one of the most challenging years to vote that we've had, and I saw some data in between coming on here that the turnout for this election has been the highest since 1900. And so when people are really invested, when the stakes are high, I think it shows that people come out no matter what's going on out in the world.
Do you think with such great voter turnout that we might see this early voting continue in future elections?
We might. I think there's been a general trend towards, opening more avenues, and some people certainly do seem to like early voting. But I don't know if it'll permanently shift things. I tend to write off 2020 as kind of just, its own unicorn of a year that we probably won't like it again.
A unicorn indeed. And of course, we want to thank you so much for your time. You've been with us all morning. Dr. Nick LaRoe with the University of Southern Indiana. Thank you so much.
Been my pleasure.
Have a good one.